Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Hewlett Packard Houston Open. This is my DFS top play show, so this is focused on the GPP, larger games, and even showdown. You can use these players, but it is focused purely on Draftkings DFS, giving you all the information, research, and analysis to dive in and talk about why I'm picking the guys that I am. First off and foremost, thanks for checking me out. If you're new, if you've been here forever, thank you always for your support. Okay, let's get into this. All right, so someone was asking me, one of my subscribers, a couple things. One was they were asking me about the new intro, what's up with the new guys that are coming in, and the reason why those guys that you see in the intro now, they are the guys that I picked this year, 2021, coming to the end of the season. And they were some of my favorite just outright bets in calling between, it was Max Homa, probably Cameron Champ was one of my favorites. I think he was 150 to 1. I was talking about Homa forever, that when he's on the West Coast, bet him, that he popped. Lucas Glover, even back, quite a while ago at the Waste Management, Brooks Koepka. So neither here or there. That's what's up with it. So just so when you see the new guys flying in there, that was all my outright bets. And there was quite a few that I called that are not on there, but those are my favorite and longer odd ones. So that's what that is. And then also someone was asking me if I'm still going to do prize picks. I am. Now that we're back in the States, and I think we're getting some more eyeballs and people playing still some more DFS golf, I will definitely give you guys our prize picks. And if you don't know what prize picks is, hey, check it out. It is just purely an over-under projection. So they're taking the over-under on these guys. You can pick how many birdies they have or what their fantasy score you think is going to be. I typically go with fantasy score. I take a look at the birdies too, but and you can pick up to two guys, or you can pick up to 4 or 5 to get that 10x multiplier. And right now they are still matching you dollar for dollar up to $100 max. If you are new and you put your money in for the first time, and if you do that, you just have to put in my promo code Golf Guru, and I get a little spiff back. And as I mentioned early on with this, I am collecting all of that. Whatever I do get, I'm going to give it back to my listeners and do it for the Masters. Do some kind of a nice giveaway. So that's the plan with that. So check out Prize Picks tomorrow on my show for my value plays and ownership projections and all that. I will go ahead and give you my prize picks for the week for Thursday. I do the first day typically. All right. So if you missed my preview show, I always do this comparable courses. This is just part of the process. I do a lot of the models. So to give you kind of a walkthrough, typically what I do is first step, I already know I've been doing this for so long that I have a good understanding of the guys that I already want to play. But then also I let the models and the analysis kind of start to weed through, see what, from a recent form standpoint. Also, I build the model, so I, of course, shared that yesterday. And with that, I also do comparable courses because I do believe that guys typically play certain kind of courses better than they do others. Hence why they pick their schedule the way they do. Guys that have, status, they don't typically just go play whatever. Now, the PGA forces them once in a while. I think it's every 4 years they must go play a new tournament. But typically they build their schedules from what the analytics say that they should do well at. And so that's why we look at comparable courses. And so the best comparable courses that I see is the Valero, which is TPC San Antonio. These are all longer tracks. They might not be the exact same par level. A lot of these are par 72, par 71. Of course, where we're at Memorial Park is a par 70, but it's a big boy course. These courses are all big boy courses. They all have some tree line. You need to do well around the greens and putting, and they're all Bermuda. So with that said, you can leverage not just the history at the Houston Open, especially because we've only had 1 year of past history at Memorial Park. You can also look at comparable courses, and typically you'll start to notice some things, and so that's why we do this. I removed Tournament of Champions, so the Century Tournament of Champions, and I added Valspar. I think it's a better fit. It's a par 71, about 7,300 yards. It is Bermuda. It's a tough track. And of course, who won Valspar just recently? Sam Burns, who I think, not recently, but did win Valspar and won Sanderson Farms recently. So he's got 2 of these courses. And that's why, hence, Sam Burns is your number 1 highest cost from a GPP DFS perspective. And he's also a guy that, from everything is telling you, should either win or top 5 in this tournament. Now, it's golf and anything can happen, but it's pretty rare that the number one guy, I think the last time where I said it was pretty much a lock, unless something crazy happened. Um, was John Rahm at the U.S. Open. His history at Torrey Pines at the Farmers, there was no reason why he should not win that. It was just everything pointed to him, and he did. And then sometimes, like I said, that's rare, but sometimes, and that's what I see here with Sam Burns. So, anyways, I will go through these comparable courses on each of the guys that I'm picking, just so you can see how they do. Okay. Let's go jump over into Fantasy National and do some analysis. Okay, so jumping over to Fantasy National Golf, and this is always my little infomercial for them. I think it's an amazing tool. Like I said, I'll tell you again, I used to do a lot of my own kind of analysis and pulling data from here and there. Nothing beats it from a golf perspective. So again, I highly recommend testing it out if you are trying to do your own analysis. But if not, you're getting a lot of it done by me, so that's a positive thing. But I would definitely give it a look. And just so you know, this is focused on DraftKings pricing, but I always mention you can use these picks, of course, in FanDuel or Yahoo or whatever. You just might have a little different from a pricing standpoint. What we're going to be looking at is a mini model that I created. So if you look at the preview show that I did, I had a large model. I picked out the key things because I only get 5 selections here, but it's good. It kind of really focuses in on the areas that I want. I'm also always, looking at birdie gain. Now, this is a different kind of tournament. This is not a scoring fest, but I still want to see. This tells a bit on how the guys are doing. They're still going to have to make birdies. Hopefully somewhere between 4 or 5 birdies per 18 holes or per round, because they're going to give up a couple bogeys too. And you also got recent results, tournament history. So this is their past 5 tournaments, and then how they have done at the Houston Open. You're really going to want to focus on the 2021 because that is at Memorial Park now. Also, I have on there the Houston Open when it used to be held at the Golf Club of Houston. And I think it's still a good comparable course, so you don't have to chuck it out. But, that's the main one you kind of want to focus on. On the left, you can put all kinds of filters, and I have none on because I want to look at recent data. As soon as you start clicking on filters, it starts pulling up older and older data. And that's not the true picture. I mean, golf is definitely, there's the guys that are typically, right, always going to be the top 25 guys. I call them the weekend golfers, not the Thursday, Friday golfers. But they do have their ups and downs. And so I always want to look at the most recent data. Okay. So that said, right off the bat, we start with Sam Burns. He's the highest, which is crazy because we have a pretty solid field. I think we have the top 17 out of 30 FedEx or World Golf Rankings, whatever it is. But we have a pretty decent field for this. And so with that said, the first guy though is Sam Burns, and like I said, for me, I mentioned this yesterday. It's so odd that Gooch and Burns now are some of the higher paid guys because, like I said, they used to be your plug and play for the top 6,000, low 7,000, but it is what it is. They are coming into form. So, and there's no reason I already mentioned why typically I like to fade the most expensive guy. It was a lot easier back in the days when they kept putting Dustin Johnson there or even JT or Rahm, who are not in this, but those guys, you could easily see they were struggling with different aspects of their game, mostly with the putter. And you could fade those and kind of move on, but there's no way that I can fade Sam Burns. I bet him outright, even though he doesn't have the best odds. But I usually don't do that either. But everything tells me that Sam Burns is definitely going to be in the hunt come Sunday, unless again it's golf. Something could always happen. He get injured. Maybe he just isn't making putts. Okay. The last thing I did want to mention, what I'm looking at in the mini model is ranked as ball striking. That's ranked at 30%. Approach and driving distance, and then the proximity from 200 plus. And then from a putting standpoint, I actually want to look at who does well putting 25 feet or over. The reason why I'm looking at this is they're very large greens. A lot of the putts they're going to be making are going to be, the first putt they're making is going to be 25 feet over. If you will watch past, history of this tournament at this course, it's just that is where they're going to typically be putting from because just the way the greens work, they typically run off or it's hard to get the ball close to the pin. I'm not putting everything into that, but I am curious. It is something that I'm interested in. So with that said, you can see past history of Sam Burns. He's had a T7. He missed a cup the prior year. And then, of course, I mentioned already he won Sanderson Farms. His first win was at Valspar. He also contended at Genesis. Some big boy tracks. He had a T5 at the CJ Cup. So everything. And then I mentioned also in the preview show that he was your third round leader here last year before he shot 2 over going into Sunday. Of course, we call him Bermuda Burns for a reason. He does very well when he's putting on Bermuda. That's another factor. And then if I just click on position there, what that's going to do is tell me where he's had his wins. And I've already, discussed this with you guys. In May, he won Valspar. October, he won Sanderson Farms. There's the Genesis when he, I believe that was with Homa and Finau that he kind of missed out, but it was also leading until like the last, 6 or 7 holes. He had another third at Sanderson Farms. The Houston Open. This would be, I believe, I'm just going to check. That was at Memorial Park. So I take that back, which I have a hard time, but I was expecting, well, the way they're doing the dates, yeah, doesn't matter. Let's see here. What else? The Honda, I think, is not a bad course. You can also reference. There's Valspar. Again, he's done well. So yeah, on some big boy tracks, he's handled himself, and he, is just elite ball striking. The only, knock against him is typically around the green is not his best. But it's not terrible. I mean, he is still green and positive. So everything tells me, yep, I'm going to plug in Sam Burns. I can't get off him. And it's pretty rare. And don't worry, I know you're saying, well, you got the top 2 guys. I also got a lot of lower guys, so that helps you go ahead and build that 6-team roster. So you can plug in Scotty and Sam and then use the guys that I have lower to fill out your 6-man roster. And yeah, the next guy I land on is Scotty Scheffler. I mean, of course, he is a Texas native. Typically does well when he plays in Texas. I looked briefly at the weather, and there's going to be a little wind that I see right now. But again, this is on Tuesday. We still have 2 days to go. So, of course, keeping your eye on that. But, he can definitely handle the weather. Typically does pretty well in Texas. Had a good showing, of course, at the Mayakoba. I told you, I think it was on 16 where he had that double bogey that kind of threw him back, and then he just missed a couple of putts that he should have made. And funny enough, I like Scotty Scheffler 25 feet and out. I've talked about this before. Where he makes me nervous is that 5-6 footer. But you can see, played here twice before. Decent. Now, for that kind of dollar, we need him to have a lot better than a 28th or a 32nd. But I believe he's in the form that he can definitely get, top 5, if not win this thing. It could be his first win. Now you can see the putter is where, he can have some issues. I told you he can definitely handle himself in the wind. So that if the wind does blow, you should be pretty solid there. If I click on position to see where he's done his, best rounds or his best finishes, I should say. Recently the Mayakoba Memorial at Murfield Village, another big boy course. Let's see here. Trying to see Sanderson Farms. This was back in 2019. So funny enough, I think he missed some time, if I remember correct. And I don't think this was not COVID time. But I remember he came back, and his first round he struggled, and then it started to come back, and it was just rust. Done pretty well at the Genesis. That's Riviera. There's the Houston Open again. There's Valspar. There's Sanderson Farms. Maybe that was the one I'm talking about. Neither here or there. This course sets up for Scotty Scheffler, and I like him here. Kind of was almost leaning him to be the outright winner. Okay, so Matthew Wolff, let's talk about him. So just a quick disclaimer. It's kind of back and forth on Matthew Wolff. I'll be straight up with you. The price tag, I'm not a fan of. And also why I didn't pick him last week was he can get in trouble with the driver, but he didn't have to hit the driver there. He relied on the 3-wood, which he still hits almost 300 yards. But I'm just curious how much he'll pull the driver out here. My hopes is I am picking him because of what he can do from 200 out, what he can do with his putter. He's just a great ball striker when he's on, one of the elite. The problem is I'm worried about the driver. And so I'm just giving that disclaimer up front. He's never played this tournament, but he's been, making birdies over the last 3 times he's played. He had that T17 at Sanderson Farms, which I think is a great comparable course. Shriners not so much, and Mayakoba not so much. If we just go want to look at a little more information on Matthew Wolff, as I mentioned, he gains on the field when he putts on Bermuda, so that's a positive. And then if we want to just plug in, maybe the easiest way, we'll go this way. So Sanderson Farms, I already kind of discussed that. See Wells Fargo, he's never played. What about Arnold Palmer? Played once, he had a 52nd. What about Valspar? He's never played Valspar. What about the Valero? Never played the Valero. Tournament of Champions. That's a little while back, but I saw we'd pull that in just for a heck of it. So he's actually not played a ton of the tracks that I would like from a comparable side, which is interesting too. So literally is a coin flip, but I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna play him in a GPP lineup, and just because of how he can string some birdies together, and the guy, this course should fit him. It's just what is he gonna do with that driver? That's all. All right, Cameron Smith, as you noticed, he was on both of my kind of opening screens, just because I'm just a huge Cam Smith fan. I've been on him for a while now, and maybe a little blinded at times. I will state that, but the guy's been in great form. Last time we saw him was at the CJ Cup. He had a T9, had a good FedEx run. That was really the previous year FedEx run when he was priced in like the 7,000s. I was all over him and kind of rode him to a lot of success. So I probably got a little bit. You can see he has played here twice, but it was at the Golf Club of Houston, not at Memorial Park. And let's go click on Cam Smith. And why I like him, and I like him with Leishman too. So I like the Australians and I like some Texans if the wind does get going. But of course, he's elite putter. He's elite around the greens. I think you're going to need that. The off the tee stuff can get a little. Either he's really on for one round, or he could be really off. Approach, he's been real solid from 100 yards and even longer distance. But you can see around the green and putting is typically where he does his damage. If we look at like the Masters, I think is not a terrible fit just from the green perspective. Very large, slopey, runoff greens, fast. He's done well at the Genesis, which is a big boy course. Let me type in because, like I said, it's probably just easier if I go that route. So you see at Sanderson Farms, that was a while ago, but in 2016, let's do it by date so we can keep it at. He had an 11th, so a good. I think is one of the better comparable courses for this. Let's check out Valero and Valspar while we're here. So Valero, he had a 6 back in 2017. Valspar, nothing too great. Trying to see, what about Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill? So he's only played there twice, missed cut in a 34. So again, not a ton of comparable courses that, will say, yep, that's your guy, but everything at 10-2, I like him. Skipping over, you got Terrell Hatton. You can see putting outside of 25 feet. He against the field is pretty elite, but everything else not so great. He last year had a T7 here, but his game at that time was a little different than I feel like where his game is now. Of course, you have Brooks Koepka, who came out, and of course he is the PGA design consultant to Tom Dokes. I mentioned that in the previous show, so he knows the course really well. But the game has just not been there. Now, Brooks is one of those guys that's hard to get right, and the reason why is because you just never know when Brooks is like dialed in and says, "I want to go out and win this tournament." I feel like Mayakoba, I wouldn't hold too much against that because I kind of feel like that was him just getting to knock the rust off. And I've seen this before, and but I'm gonna pass from a GPP play. We'll see how he does. Maybe later I'll pick him in a showdown, and then even from a betting perspective, I bet him. I think he was 28-1, and I talked about this because whenever I see the elite, and I put him in an elite class, maybe he hasn't been there recently, but when guys get like Rory or JT or Rahm, when they for somehow are just at almost 30-1, I just feel like I have to bet it. So Adam Scott was the guy that I would have plugged in over Matthew Wolff. They to me they are somewhat similar because I'm just terrified of what can happen with the driver. And Adam Scott's been so on and off with the driver But Adam Scott does a lot of good things. I mean, he won this tournament. It was on a different track way back when it was the Shell. But you can see, driving distance, approach, ball striking over his last 3 tournaments has been really good. Also, what he does very well, and it's not on here, is par threes, longer par threes. That guy can throw some darts. And you see he comes up second in my model. He's been in pretty decent recent form, a tie for second at the Wyndham. That's a short track. The CJ Cup, he had a T5. And what I noticed with Adam Scott, what probably was the final kind of reason why I went with Matthew Wolff and not Adam Scott, was where he's done his damage, except for his win at the Genesis way back in February of 2020. And I think a lot of people after that win thought he was going to have a really good year, and he really didn't. It kind of was that win and not a whole lot else. It's been a lot of the shorter tracks. There's that, I mentioned the Houston Open win way back in 2007. But yeah, when I started to kind of climb through this, and you can look at the Farmers, but right, you got Torrey Pines South and North, and they're totally different courses. So it's kind of hard to gauge. I mean, if everything was played on the South, then you could say, hey, this guy can play a big boy track. And like I said, the Genesis is a big boy track, but that was, also a little while ago. I don't know. Like I said, I just kind of came to the conclusion that I need to see just a little more from Adam Scott. He's also very streaky with the putter, where he'll either be draining everything or he can drain nothing. So I think Joaquin Niemann could be a decent play. Again, the ball striking approach over the last 3 tournaments hasn't been that great, as you see here. He did have that T5 at Mayakoba, but it's just not enough for me right now to jump on the Joaquin Niemann train. Where he's had his win was also at a very shorter track, the TPC Old White at Greenbrier. We'll click on him just so you can see where. Let's just take a look where he's done his damage. So he had a second at Rocket Mortgage, which like I said is not bad. The Sony, TOC, that wasn't too long ago. Again, Mayakoba. We just saw RBC, the Travelers, Charles Schwab, John Deere, like just kind of like easier, shorter tracks is where he seems like he shows up. But his game should transfer to a big boy track. But so I'm gonna go ahead and pass because I want Gooch. I mean, I always said I'm always 1 week early, and so you're gonna notice quite a few of the guys that I picked last week because I was looking for ball strikers last week are somewhat similar to the guys that I'm picking this week. And now, Taylor Gooch could all of a sudden, just go sideways, but I mean, he's been playing amazing. Typically, when you see this, it's, he's really close to cracking through for a win. You can see he's played here before and done very well. So he's got amazing course history. He's been making birdies. He's green on everything here. Putting outside 25 feet is, for whatever reason, is not even showing up. And that's probably because a lot of the last few tournaments, well, it would have pulled up data, should have pulled up data from previous. I don't know why that's not showing up. He's a streaky putter. I'll just put it at that. Or he would have won more tournaments. If he had the putter that Adam or Sam Burns has, he'd already have a win. And as you can see, he does not have a win yet on tour, but man, he's been nipping, and it's always been on big boy courses where he's really had that top 5, finish. Not so much the Safeway, but we look at like the Genesis, Arnold Palmer, Sanderson Farms. You kind of go down the list. He's been able to handle the big boy courses, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking also he's elite from 200 plus out. I think he's, again, you never know. It's golf, but I really like his game. And then, right, the next guy, I think that very similar. Aaron Wise, again, you can see good course history here, an 11th, a 32nd. Also been playing really well, an 8th, a 5th, a 15th, somewhat easier tracks. But, had a good showing at Sanderson Farms. The FedEx Cup had a 17th, T17, making his birdies. The putter seems like it's in a pretty good place. That's the big thing that we need with Aaron Wise. You can see it here over his last 10 tournaments. He has gained against the field when they've had data. And we click on him. We can just take a look at it. Of course, he's got the win way back at the Byron Nelson. Second at the OHL. That's the Mayakoba we just had. But Wells Fargo, he had a second. Trying to see Memorial. It's a big boy course. There's that Houston Open, the Honda. Trying to see Sanderson Farms. We already kind of talked about that one. A couple times at Sanderson Farms, he's done all right. So yeah, I think I like Aaron Wise. I mean, again, it's a little crazy that we're paying in the 9,000 range for these guys. But like I said, it's you don't have the DJs and the Roms and the JTs, and these guys are in form. So I mean, they're priced accordingly. Happy or not, like Carlos Ortiz, another guy that used to be your 6,000 guy that a year or two ago, and then they hit form and away they go, and he has a win under his belt. Of course, at this course on this track. So I already told you I bet him. He's 35-1. I like him. Why not? We just had a repeat winner. Things are strange in the golf. You just never know. And of course, he's got a great course history here. T4, a win on this exact track. And of course, he's coming off, a second. Now, what I've seen in golf is when everything looks again like the Sam Burns thing, looks like there's no way possible he shouldn't do well. They'll come out and miss a cut. I mean, it happens. But you got to go with everything you're seeing and know from a data perspective. We also look at a third at Sanderson Farms back in 2018. You already mentioned the Houston. Yeah, he had another good showing at Sanderson Farms, and like I said, I think they're so similar and the skill sets you need to be successful. The Genesis, he's done well. The Farmers, Memorial, the Genesis again, Arnold Palmer, the Genesis, the Farm. So all big boy tracks. He has handled himself pretty well on. So moving through real quick with Patrick Reed game, just like I said, I've mentioned this multiple times. It's just not there. Russ Henley, I'm kind of off Russ Henley for a while. I mean, who knows? You just don't know when that guy's going to pop. I thought like I said, Mayakoba, I thought would be an amazing place. Shorter Bermuda tracks. That's past Powell, but pretty similar. Used to be his gig. Jason Kokrak, funny enough, like, his game was not too bad at the FedEx. But what's funny, if you look at Jason Kokrak, when you think of Kokrak, even myself, you think of a bomber, the putter really turned around the last season. But where he's had his wins and done well, I mean, there is this Genesis right here, and Valspar, but that's a while ago. But really, it's, shorter courses like the Charles Schwab, where he had his win here recently. You got Fortinet, Charles Schwab, Greenbrier, AT&T, way back at the Arnold Palmer. So it's kind of funny, RBC. I don't know why. I just feel like he's kind of sneaky to play on the tracks that you think are plotters, is where you should play Kokrak. And then on the big boy tracks, I think he struggles. So that's why I'm not on Kokrak. Maybe showdown play. We'll see. He's been, like I said, his game's been a little off. Funny enough, I like Mark Leishman a lot. I already mentioned this. I don't know if you've been playing this a while. Mark Leishman was so awful at times that I think it might get a little overlooked. But you can see he's making a ton of birdies. Been playing well from here. He's had somewhat of a history in this event, but that's so far back, you really can't worry about that. And then we go click on Mark Leishman. Let's just go see what I like about him is he can handle himself in the wind. He's great around the greens. A lot like I think Cam Smith and Mark Leishman, if for some reason you put a lineup together and you can't afford to keep Cam Smith in there, I believe you could plug in Leishman and you're getting pretty close to the same value. That's my own perception. But yeah, putts, gains, Bermuda is definitely his best surface by far. And you can see everything here. This is what will make me nervous, like an Adam Scott. He can get wayward with the driver. But you can see the putter has been, in Fuego and not too shabby or else, except right here, and mentioned lost 2 strokes, but still had a fourth at the Fortinet. And if we click on where he's done some of his best, so of course he won the Farmers. That's a bit back. Previously before you had Patrick Reed win it previously or recently. He's also won at Arnold Palmer, which I think is a really good comp course. He had that second in 2020. The Farmers, again, likes playing at Torrey, which is funny because his POA is actually negative over his career, so figure that out. Trying to see where else. Let me just plug in. I don't know if he's ever played some of these tournaments. So let's see. Sanderson Farms, he's never played. What about Valero? He's played Valspar. Valero was a long time ago. Valspar was a long time ago. So he's kind of Arnold Palmer, the win in 2017, a second in 2020. He's done well at Bay Hill. Let's see, Wells Fargo. And that was way back. It's kind of interesting. Some of the tracks he has not played, but I like him. I like him here. And I don't typically, I haven't been on a lot of Mark Leishman. But Zayden Hood, I think, is just too much of a course, even though he's a great putter. Matt McNeely, again, I think of him. Shorter tracks, West Coast guy. Been playing really good golf. So he could be a sneaky play. Seamus Powers just keeps playing well. Tringale had that miscut at Mayakoba, so a little nervous about him. I think I'd rather play Munoz. And again, I kind of lump those two always in my brain together. Munoz, right? Like Carlos Ortiz, both went to northern Texas. So they're from the area, as in, been there. I don't know how much they played, that course, but, they are Texas guys. Of course, Lanto won back at the Golf Club of Houston. And that's what they said. It's kind of funny that's coming up under 2021. Should be 2020. It should be, this was the Golf Club of Houston, and this is Memorial Park. But his game's just, yeah. I mean, you can see pretty good showings recently here. So, I mean, he could be kind of a sneaky play, but 8,100, that's a bit to pay. I feel like the pricing, I mean, literally, if I had to pick between these two guys, Max Homa was $100 cheaper. It's a no-brainer. Now, you can also see that Max Homa, he had to win and then a 72nd, but Max Homa, like I've said, it's either he's top 10 or a win, or he's missing a cut. I mean, that's just what you get. And you can see at a T48 here last year, everything's kind of in the, above average against the field. But one thing that I know about Max is that, it's going to come down to the putter. But he's pretty good on these big boy courses, right? Of course, he won, recently the Safeway, which is, I don't consider that a big boy course, but he won the Genesis. He won the Wells Fargo. He had a 6 at Valspar. I think he's played Sanderson. Let's take a look. So he had a 43rd. And the dates are kind of messed. Let me do it that way. So he had a couple miscuts, but a while back. So Sanderson Farms is telling me that he's not excited. But, of course, Wells Fargo, kind of a mixed bag of results, right? He had a struggle Thursday and just couldn't recover to go defend his title. This recent, Arnold Palmer, he had a 10th recently, a 24th before that. Let's see, Valspar, he had a 6th recently. And then that's what I also want to look at was Valero. Nothing too great. He had a 42nd, but it's been a couple of years since he's played there. So, yeah, I like for the price tag, if I had to pick between Lanto and Max, I'm going with Max. He's also kind of my brand. I'm a big fan. No on Hughes and EVR. I mean, again, I'm going back to some guys that I was a little disappointed how they did at Mayakoba, to be honest. On both of these now, they're a little different. So HV3 is actually has some good track history here. He's elite tee to green, does all this stuff that I want. The putter, it's like a lot of these guys, right? I mean, funny enough, one of the first guys I thought of that I would wanted to play here was Corey Connors, but he's not in the field. I thought he'd be a great, why he's not playing here, I have no idea, because again, of course, Juan Valero, and he's got the Hovland. Well, I said he's kind of a cheaper Hovland, that the guy is so elite tee to green. It's just whatever that putter does. But anyways, back to HV3. So, he had his best showing at RBC, which is a kind of a plotter strategic course, but you got to be accurate to be able to do that. But he's also, had some success at some of the tracks that I'm interested in. So Sanderson Farms, he had the 11th here recently that just passed in October. Wells Fargo at 24th at 55. Arnold Palmer, he had a 21st, a 34th. Valspar, let's go that first. Nothing too great, a couple made cuts, a couple missed cuts. But at Valero, he had a 9th, 2016. Miscut recently. Again, I don't know why. I guess because I clicked on that. But he's had some decent showings at TPC San Antonio. So I like, I'm going to go back to the well. with HV3. Like I said, I'm giving you some guys that are a little lower in price to help you make those builds. Mito Pura, I think he just had a terrible time with the putter. The guy you can see is just elite. Again, like a Corey Connors or like a lot of these guys, it's all coming down to what he does with the putter. You can see my model ranking. Even though he missed the cut recently, it's he's still from tee to green, he's number one. And here you go. You can just see it's the putters where we're struggling. This is bringing in some of the Corn Ferry stuff. So let me just type in and see. So Sanderson Farms recently had a 31. I'm not sure if he's played some of these tournaments because he is pretty new to the tour. That might be the only one. Let's see, he's never played Arnold Palmer now. So I don't have a lot of comparable courses I can pull up for you guys, and not going to go into all the Evan Scholars thing to try to, or not Evan Scholars, to the Corn Ferry stuff. But long story short, the guy, I've always said he's kind of a cheap Joaquin Neiman, and I'm going to stick with that. And I know they were friends. They lived together. They're both from Chile. So for 7,700, I feel like I'm getting a cheap Joaquin Neiman, who's in 9,500. So do with that what you may. You might not agree. Gary Woodland, it's actually had a pretty decent history here. It's a while back, but his game should suit this too for 7,600. So it could be a sneaky play. Kevin Streelman, you can see, does some things very well. But the next guy, again, I'm going to go back to Johnny Vegas, another guy that missed the cut. He missed barely. I think HV3 and him missed by like a stroke or two. So they had to shoot 4 under, and I think like one was like 2 under, one was like 3 under, something like that. But again, you can see he's played this event quite a few times. Had a T44 at this specific course at Memorial Park. Again, you can see everything is just in Fuego. The putter, I'll state it 1,000 times. HV3 and Johnny Vegas are almost like the identical players in my brain. If you see where they've done, Canadian Open, that's not a tough course at all. Let's see here. The Amex, shorter track. But, the Farmers, the Honda, Sanderson Farms, Wells Fargo, the Farmers, Honda, Genesis. So he can handle himself on a big boy track, and that's what I'm looking for. And for 7,500, I'm going to plug and play him. Cam Davis just been kind of off, but I think his game fits this course. I already mentioned Munoz. I know this doesn't look good, but I know that he's had some success here. He's, I think as a guy that you could definitely play. I'll probably keep an eye on that ownership and, might sprinkle him in. Jason Day, last year at one time, I think was leading the tournament by the third round here, but it's so hard to play Jason Day. I think I tried to play him. I don't even remember. It might've been in the FedEx Cup, but it's just whatever. I think CT Pan's a good play. It was actually between him and Hoffman. And when I go to Hoffman, he just has such a good success in Texas. You can see his history in just the Houston Open. He's done well. He had a 29th. And then I think probably what sticks out in my brain and why I'm leaning to him is because what he did at Valero. But he's every time he's played at Valero at TPC San Antonio, he's done well. You can see gains on Bermuda, nothing huge, but he does over his career. If I click on this, right, so his only, one of his wins was at Valero back in 2016. The Bob Hope, I think that was even La Quinta. I was curious if that was in Texas. I think that's actually California. It's been a while. But you see Valero second. The guy, Valero again. I mean, the guy's just, he loves the Valero, man. But he's done well at the Genesis, Sanderson Farms. He's just done well in Texas. And, he hasn't done a whole ton of a lot lately. But I think he could, surprise. So for 7,300, I am all over that. No on Ian Poulter. He just doesn't have the distance for me. You can see he's pretty elite with the putter at times, but everything else, no thank you. And then I told you I'm going back to Grillo, and I probably, it's a little bit of a broke back pick, right, with like Kazire. I should probably quit him, but I just know that his game should fit this course. And amazing enough, outside of 25 feet, he's number 3 ranked out of this field. So that's interesting because of course the putter is where we have the issues. You can also see, I mean, at the Houston Open, and that is at the Golf Club of Houston, he had a third place or a T3, missed the cut last year. And I feel like that way with Grillo. I feel like he's either going to top 10 or he's going to miss the cut. It's just kind of what he does. But you can see this is a concern. I'm not going to say it's not because you need these things. But I'm just hoping that, he can make some putts and chip a little better than he usually does. I guess the simplest way to put it. Let's just do it over here. So let's go look at Sanderson Farms. That's another thing you can see. I think that's a great, again, comparable course. He's ended up in the 30s. Let's go look at Wells Fargo. And we'll do it this way so we can see. So he had a 14th recently, a 9th, at Quail Hollow, tough course. He has done well. Let's look at Arnold Palmer again. Bay Hill, tough course. A 21st, 26th, a 7th, of 17th. So everything is good there. What about Valspar? He's had a couple missed cuts at Valspar, but let's look at Valero. He's never played Valero. That's interesting. So I like, again, it's just can he make some putts and some chips? And my last guy, I'm skipping these guys. Taylor Pendrith. I think he's a good play, to be honest. I will probably play him a little bit just because of that easy distance. Harry Higgs, also, I will probably sprinkle a little bit of him in. I'll let you know that. Ryan Palmer, Texas guy. Last time we've seen Ryan do pretty well was when he was in Texas. So, couldn't kill you for that. But, the guy that I'm actually going to go to at 7,000, that's, the bare min for my top 15, because I'm going to give you guys the value plays of 7,000 below. Is Keith Mitchell. And I told you I was going to get you guys so you could actually make a build. You can see, he's at the Houston back in 2018. He had a 6. Pretty, I don't know, okay recent form. But I know where Keith Mitchell has done well in his past. Already won the Honda. Had a chance this year, fought with Rory for the Wells Fargo. He's done well at the Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill. I think it's a good comparable. We'll plug in and just see about Sanderson Farms. So he's never made a cut there, so that's not good. But he has done well. He also had the 17th at recently at the Valero, which, like I said, is a great comparable course. What about Valspar? And then Valspar, 69th recently, and 11th way back in 2000. So for that price tag, I need a guy elite with some distance off the tee, decent ball striker. But these things here I like. He's good from outside of 200, and funny enough, outside of 25 feet, he's done pretty well, and he's making some birdies. So that's it. That's my analysis. That gives you guys some ideas of who I like and who I recommend. But you guys got to do what you got to do. And let's jump out of here, go summarize this thing, and get you out of here. Okay, so to summarize, my top 5, my favorite Fab 5 picks for the Houston Open are going to be number 1, Sammy Burns, no shocker there. Everything says he should, win or at minimum top 5 this thing. But when everything looks like he should win, doesn't always work out. But the guy is elite, hitting fairways, distance, awesome with the longer clubs, not a bad short game, and a really good putter on Bermuda. So everything points to that. Taylor Gooch is just waiting to win. I don't think I bet him because I was just mad that he's at like 14-1 or whatever it is. So I'm going to kind of wait, see what the odds do. If he gets decent odds and he doesn't, he's just hanging in there. And I've got 2 rounds of Saturday, Sunday. I'll put a bet on him then. But I like the Gooch. I think these two guys are so similar. They look a little bit alike. Their game is similar. Like I said, just Burns is a better putter. That's why he's got the wins. Aaron Wise, again, I think put him right in the lump him in, man. Awesome ball strikers, great with the long stuff. Just what is he going to do with the putter? And then probably out of those, a total flip where you've got an elite short game putter and can get, solid. I mean, he can hit the ball 300 with the driver. It's just hope he keeps it in play. And here you don't need fairways as much. You're not going to get in super amount of trouble. So I like Cam Smith. And then to round it off, Scotty Scheffler just hit that, baby fade 300 out there. He's good with the long stuff. With him, it's just the putter. And again, it's the short putts, not the long ones. All right, so the next guys I would be bringing in that I'd be playing to fill in, of course, Carlos Ortiz, your past champion here, past winner. Just had the second at Mayakoba, is playing good golf, has done well on big boy courses. So, no reason why he couldn't have made the top five, but I just, coming off that second place and past champion, I don't know why I'm feeling him to end up somewhere in the teens, in the 20s. I don't know if he's going to get there. Leishman, I think he's, I don't want to say sneaky, but it wouldn't shock me to see him contend for this tournament. I bet him outright. I think he's 40-1. Of course, Max Homa, he's, can go either way, but he usually can handle himself on big boy courses and is never a bad bet. I think he is like 40 or 50-1. The Hoffman, right? Had an amazing Texas swing this past season. Everything says he should do well here. I mean, again, he's done so well. Valero, I don't see why I wouldn't transfer over here. And his game hasn't been horrible. It hasn't been awesome. But I think he could be a good play. And then last but not least, the pick that, or not last but not least, but for my next five, Matthew Wolff. I'm just worried with the driver, but everything else is what I want. I like the putter. The short game's not bad. Awesome elite from 200 out. And I'm hoping that if he just struggles a little bit with the driver off the bat, he just goes right to the 3-wood, just keeps it in play. All you need is 290, 300. You don't need to hit it, 330, 340, which it'd be nice if he's hitting a driver well, then, he's really going to be able to take advantage of some hole. And then which I call now my Unsung Five, because I didn't like the final five. I just think, these guys just as easy could be right there. You got HV3, again, elite tee to green, going to need the putter. And it's what you're going to notice with all these guys are pretty much elite ball strikers, just not good putters, but just hope that the putter cracks through. There's Griot. I put Griot actually right there with the Aaron Wise. I mean, I think they're similar. Johnny Vegas, right? HV3 part 2. Again, elite tee to green, just the putter. And then, of course, Killer Keith, which at times he could have a pretty hot putter, but again, just this kind of hole, this is, this whole sample set here, do one thing very well. It's off the tee, and then, pretty good with the irons. It's just the short game and the putting. Okay, that's it for me. Again, I appreciate your guys' time. I hope that helps you. And if you do me the honor, click that like button, share this with anybody else that you think. If you've not subscribed, again, I'm trying to get over that threshold to 1,000 subscribers. So please hit the subscribe button. Keep me doing this. And I will give you my DraftKings picks tomorrow. I'm sorry, my prize picks tomorrow. Also, I have my top value plays, the ownership projections, weather. I'll be watching these guys' pressers. So anything that I see, I'll let you guys know tomorrow. And if I can help you out, I already mentioned one and done yesterday. But if there's any other questions, just let me know on YouTube comments or follow me on Twitter, where I keep an eye on PGA Communications. We'll tell you guys if any withdrawals or anything shakes out. I'll try to let you guys know as soon as I know. All right, guys. Thanks. Check me out tomorrow, where I will be here to give you guys my top 5 value plays below 7,000. All right, guys. Take care.